So, what is Django? Django is a Python web development framework, which means that Django is a framework. I'll come back to what a framework is in a second, that helps you or that allows you to build websites using the Python programming language, and also HTML and CSS, which you will also need. More on that in a second. Now, Django is built for modern Python using Python version 3.x, and this course will use Python 3.x, not 2.x. And Django follows a so-called batteries included approach, which is also what makes it a framework basically. It means that Django is a module, a library, which you install on your system, which exposes tons of functions and features which you can use in your Python code so that you don't have to invent those features on your own, so that you don't have to write the code for all those nitty-gritty details on your own. And you can then just use all those features. And Django comes with many features for handling incoming requests, parsing requests, working with form data, storing data in a database, authenticating user. It's packed with features. We're going to dive into all the key features in this course here, and that's why it's a framework, because it's packed with features, and why we say that it is a batteries included framework, or that it follows this batteries included approach, because chances are high that it has everything you need to build a complete website with any features you might need. No matter if you need file upload, user authentication, it's all included. And as mentioned, we're going to see all those important features in this course here. Now, whilst Django includes all those features, it also is very customizable and extensible. As you will also see in this course, you can configure many aspects of Django's so that you have those built-in functionalities, but you can still fine-tune them so that they fit your requirements and they do what you need them to do. It's also worth mentioning that Django is not a small library or framework for building demo and dummy applications, though you can of course do that as well with it, but it really is production ready. You can build production ready websites with Django, and it is being used for production websites out there. So Django is really a tool, a framework, which you can use to build real websites, which you then deploy and potentially serve to hundreds of thousands or millions of users. So that's Django. Why would we use it? I mean, it has many features built in, but is that the main reason? Well, to really understand why we need a tool like Django, let's take a step back and let's look at how the internet works. We got users visiting websites, and we got servers that store the code for those websites. And of course, you know that the typical flow is that a user enters some address or clicks some link, and that then leads to a request being sent by the browser of that user to the server that serves that website. That server is identified by the address entered in the URL bar in the browser. That server might then be doing things and ultimately sends back a response, typically a response containing HTML code, maybe also CSS code and so on, so that the browser is able to display a website to the user. Now, the interesting part is what happens on the server. Your business logic that's running there. So logic that reaches out to a database to create data or to fetch data. As a web developer, we typically want to focus on this core business logic, which means we want to focus on the core features that make up our website. That might, for example, be that we're building an online shop, and then we want to focus on how we serve and present the products to the user and how we handle incoming orders. But we don't typically want to write the nitty-gritty code for parsing the incoming request, or for establishing a connection to the database, or for validating user input. We don't want to do that. And that's why we use a framework like Django. It takes care about those annoying tasks, and it allows us as a developer to focus on the big picture, so to say, to focus on the core features and the core business logic that matters to our website. And you're going to see that in action throughout this course, of course. And for the moment, that is enough. That's what Django is and why we might want to use it. Now it's really time to get our hands dirty and to start writing some code. Though before we do that, here are some prerequisites which you will need to get the most out of this course here. You need to have basic Python knowledge. You don't need any Django knowledge, and you also don't need to be a Python expert, but Python basics are required because this is not a Python course. Now you will also need basic web dev knowledge. You don't need to be a HTML, CSS, or JavaScript expert. We're not even going to write any JavaScript code in this course, but you should know how the web works, and you should have seen HTML and CSS before. And with all that out of the way, now we know what you need to know, and with that, it's now really finally time to install Django and get started.